So you had a couple of females that kind of, that's something to think about when you move. Some of those females could do that.
My name is Tony Thomas, and you're watching Hardwired Exotics on YouTube.
We about to turn it on.
What's going on, guys? So today I ain't gonna say today we got invited, but a couple of days ago we got invited over to Chris and Grace's house at Slowcountry Balls. If you'll back up, month and a half, 2 months ago, we helped them move their collection to their new house. So they invited us over to have a few drinks and have some good food.
Let the kids have some s'mores.
Kids had some s'mores. So anyway, they just invited us back to give us some appreciation for helping them move and stuff, and to hang out and actually enjoy some socialization instead of actually having to work.
And if you hear me cough, I've been diagnosed with bacterial bronchitis. I've been on antibiotics for over 3 days, so it's not COVID-19 that is causing my cough, but I'm still having a cough.
Wait a minute. I didn't know nothing about that.
Oh, sorry.
He got the COVID. Just kidding. He told us. I checked his prescription just to make sure. I needed a doctor's note before we started.
But yeah, so if I have a coughing fit during the talk, I'm sorry, but it's the bronchitis.
Cassie's a good editor. She'll just edit all that. Anyway, so we wanted to catch a little bit of YouTube video here, hoping that you could give some insight on what actually progressed or degressed about moving a collection, especially during the particular time that you did, which was right at starting the breeding season, or
right at starting a laying of breeding season. I mean, I think we were in the house 13 days and the first clutch got laid, which is a little earlier than I thought it was going to happen. And if Cassie wants to pan over, we had to make a emergency incubator. So Albie from Albie's Too Cool Reptiles has a really good tutorial on how to turn one of those coolers into an incubator. The incubator that I built at the old house wouldn't come up the stairs very well, so we decided to not bring it upstairs, since eventually we'd be going back downstairs when we convert the storage room to the official snake room. So for the next season or two, I'll probably be using at least one of those, maybe two, depending on how many clutches we have at any one time. So that was one thing. The other thing that we've noticed is that I've had a couple of the females that got bumped up probably about 6 weeks before the move into bigger tubs. They haven't been eating as well, so I bumped them back down. You can see these two tubs here are empty. Moved the females that were almost at 1,000 grams back down into V35 tubs, like this girl here, this Enchi Pied. She was doing great for me at the old house and was eating really well for like the first 2 weeks here, and then she's gone on a hunger strike. She won't eat. She knows she's frozen thawed. She won't take live right now even. So I thought if I bump her down, that might help her out. That's a trick. I think you've mentioned it a couple times. I also heard Justin Kowalski mention it, is bringing them back down to a smaller tub size. So she's one of the two females that got moved out of a V70 tub into a V35 short. These two girls were both in V35 short tubs and moved them back down to V18s because this girl has not eaten at all since we moved, and this girl ate one meal since we moved. So thinking if I give them some smaller tubs, it's more likely that they'll feel comfortable and safe to eat again.
Okay. So none of your temperatures on your thermostats changed. Nothing's really changed at all as far as their environment, other than the fact of they're in a different location.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, the hotspots are still set at. Well, actually, I bumped them from 90 down to 89. Talking with you, just because I was seeing a few more slugs than normal. That's nothing that we don't know if it's attributed to the move or just the general season. So normally I keep my heat tape set at 90 degrees. So now I'm keeping it set at 89. And some of the girls, as we've said, haven't been feeding as well. And I've had 4 clutches with 1 or 2 slugs. And I did lose an entire clutch to slugs this year. And unfortunately that was the chocolate pastel Mojave head hypo that was paired with the leopard pastel hypo clown. So that was a big clutch to lose, but that was 6 slugs. So that's the other thing we noticed. We did see more slugs, and we thought that might happen just as a consequence of moving, but
Right.
I don't think there's any good time to move when you're breeding.
No.
You just gotta roll with the punches and see what goes which way.
Right. So just to re-say what Chris just said about the slugs. So a lot of people, including myself, believe that if temperatures are too hot for your breeding females, they tend to slug out more often. So I've done this for several years now, and I noticed some slugs from the beginning when I started breeding, and as the years have progressed, I've slowly started dropping some temperatures, and I've noticed a tremendous difference in the amount of slugs that we get. We only have a handful every year versus people that use a rack system and keep their temperatures a little bit hotter tend to have more slugs. Now, again, that's just something I've noticed. Could be just random or, I can't even say it.
Coincidental?
Yeah. Wait.
You know it's bad when an engineer's helping with words.
That's the
I'm numbers, not no letters.
That's those drinks that we had while ago. Anyway, I don't really know, but I truly believe that temperatures are too hot, they cause slugs. Now, you're also moving.
Right.
So,
yeah,
a slug is technically a infertile and just an egg that's not ever formed.
Right.
So, could it have been from moving? I mean, she laid, when was she developing those eggs about?
Yeah.
Should have been developing those eggs about the same time that you were moving.
Yep.
So it's highly possible that could have been it too. So I recommended Chris to drop his temperature down slightly, and over a couple of years, you can't figure out it this year, but over a couple of years, you may be able to get a little bit less slugs.
And I think for us, we've seen maybe 2 or 3 clutches a year with a single slug in them each. That's kind of common for us. So to see 4 or 5 already with with 1 or 2 slugs was a little higher than usual. And so that was one reason I did drop the temperatures like you recommended. And then to have a full, I think I've only had one other season where I've had a female totally slug out. I've almost always had at least a couple good eggs and a couple slugs if that happens. And so I did get the temperature gun out just to see, we're looking at probably somewhere around high 70s to low 80s for our ambient room right now, and the temperature of the heat tape was set at 90, so I've dropped that down to 89 like we talked about. So yeah, I think that moving probably has impacted the number of slugs that we had. I've heard that for other people has happened, but it's the main stressor that's been different than all the other years, except for being in a geographically different spot. And we only moved 8 miles, so I don't think the weather should be that different.
Change that much as far as the outside.
Yeah, it's not like we went from
Do you think that
north to
having
south.
the room temperature, do you think it's warmer or cooler in this particular room than it was the other?
I think it's about the same temperature, but can't be certain on that. One thing that we get morning sun here, whereas the other house we got afternoon sun.
on this particular room.
Right, this particular room gets morning sun, whereas the room in the other house got afternoon sun. And so I don't know how much that plays
Which
into it.
does play some degree of difference, depending on where your snake room is in your house or outside in your shop or wherever you have it.
Yeah.
The sun coming up plays a role on the temperatures versus the sun going down and getting sun on that does play it. People don't think about that, but it
changes when your peak temperatures in the room are.
Yep.
So you're getting more intense sun in the morning in this room, and you're getting less heat, radiant heat, and less direct sunlight heating this room in the afternoon. Whereas it was the other way around. Is in the morning it was cooler, and in the afternoon and evening we got more light in the other one.
Yeah. Same thing goes for wintertime versus summertime. People don't really think about it, but even inside of your house, because most people do keep their snakes in their house, your temperatures do change depending on the temperatures outside, regardless of what your thermometer and thermostats
are set at. Yeah.
So, anyway, just some things to think about. So you had a couple of females that kind of, Was it just females, or did you have a few males?
I haven't had any males go off feed, just a few females.
A few females, and they were probably around that.
They were around 1,000 grams to 6.
Grams.
Yeah, the smallest one was around 425, but that range.
And so that's something to think about when you move. Some of those females could do that. Obviously not all of them did.
No, most of them haven't actually.
But that is something to think about, as well as when you're moving those breeding females, you're running a risk of possibly having slugs, because more than likely that did have something to do with getting slugs. So, anything else? Anything else out of the ordinary? Did it stop breeding males? Were you breeding males?
The males are still going. I even had a couple locks this week. But
how long has it been also since you moved here?
We moved here on March 25th, so it's pretty much 6 weeks.
6 weeks, okay. So, anything else you can think of that would be?
Nothing comes to mind. Everything else has been very easygoing, very consistent.
All right, so there's a few things to consider when you are moving or planning on moving. So, I know, like you just said, you can't always plan when you're going to move, or there's no really great time to do it, but just some things to think about. Y'all would like to get somewhat of an update on what's going on here with Chris. So, anything else you want to say about moving?
It's fun. It's stressful. It's not fun. I guess a little bit of everything.
Completely agree. So, I'll tell you what. Let's look at some snakes. Chris really works hard with the orange belly stuff.
Yeah.
And he has a really unique orange belly, so we'll get that out and show it to you.
Alright, so orange belly is a line of yellow belly that Ben Siegel brought in. And if you look at this one here, this is typical orange belly. You get some very nice blushing like you do in a yellow belly. You get the speckling on the edges of the belly. And you do get a good head stamp.
That's crazy. You could obviously tell that it's different than just a regular yellow belly. So.
Yep. These are half siblings.
Thanks for watching Hardwired Exotics, and make sure you subscribe. Bye!